And we are live. Welcome, good people of the interwebs. Today, the two old farts will talk a little bit about Christmas, bring some cheer, well, one of the two anyway, into your days. I
Ah,
mean,
humbug.
it's nearly time for that great day of days. Saturday, Sunday, Monday. When is it? Wednesday? I think it's Wednesday. When half of the world thinks that Jesus was born, well, it's less than half of the world. Was he actually born that day, though? I'm wondering, considering that we
Well,
start counting our year on the 1st of January.
no. Considering he was born, according to the Bible story, at least 5 years before he was born.
How do you do that?
Because the Bible story says he was born during the reign of Herod.
Yeah.
And Herod died 5 BC.
Well, there is that. Yeah, good point. Yeah.
So if they can't get the year right, what are the odds on the day?
Yeah, but I mean, if you're going to start a new calendar based on the birth of Jesus, wouldn't then his birthday be the first day of the year?
Sorry?
Well, I mean, if we're going to say we're going to base our calendar on the birth of Jesus, which Western calendar is based on, it's based on the year Jesus was born. Wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
his birthday then
Sorry.
not be the 1st of January?
Uh, it doesn't work like that. Sorry. I'm just trying to tackle Michael Keller in the chat.
Oh, okay. Considering the Halian comet, not sure about English name, it couldn't be. What couldn't be?
No,
Nothing.
that okay. So one of the theories is that the Star of Bethlehem was Halley's comet,
Oh,
and it's on a predictable cycle.
it was 72 years, right?
It doesn't really matter, but the point is they know which years it will have shown up.
Okay. Okay.
But it
And
just made me laugh because he said, considering the Halleyan comet, not sure about the English name, when it's named after an English astronomer, Halley.
oh, I thought it was called Haley.
No, he was actually pronounced Halley.
But the comet I meant.
Yeah, it's named after the astronomer
Yeah,
from the 18th century called Halley.
but if the name of the astronomer it's named after is Halley, why wouldn't they call it Halley's comet instead of Haley's comet? Because I think they
No,
call
they
it
do call it Halley's comet. They
really.
mispronounce it Halley's comet.
I'm sorry. We call it one, but it's pronounced two.
No,
How is
no.
Halley and
Okay,
Haley the same
okay.
thing?
What is the name of the tallest mountain in the world?
Oh, I don't know. I think it's the Himalayas or something.
No, Mount
Okay.
Everest, right?
Okay.
Named after the uh, a governor general or something of India. Except he didn't pronounce his name Everest.
So how did he pronounce his name?
Everest.
Okay. My wife isn't laughing at what John said, but it could have fitted perfectly well.
It could. But my point is this: there is a there was an original pronunciation as used by the person.
Uh,
Doesn't mean that pronunciation has lasted into modernity.
okay. Well, okay. There are more mispronunciations that have become common. I mean, we still call the guy Julius Caesar, for fuck's sake.
No, I think the reason we call it Halley's Comet is because of Bill Haley.
Really? Yeah.
Bill Haley in the Comets. He literally named his band after the comet, but it's spelled differently and pronounced differently.
Okay. Well, I remember another Haley, to be honest. But
yeah, Haley Berry. She's quite attractive.
Well, that's Halle Berry, isn't it?
Hey, stop quibbling about pronunciation. You're the one getting all asking about pronunciation.
So, okay, let's go back to Yule tidings, or Christmas as some people would like to call it. By the way, did you know the reason why people had big feasts on Yuletide, Christmas? Because
it's to celebrate the darkest of winter, so let's have a feast to celebrate.
Well, yes, it's a turnover. The nights will get longer, but there's a second, more sinister reason.
Babies, eating babies, or is that just
no, nothing to do with eating babies. It has to do with eating cattle. Because you would, during the year, you would obviously grow food and whatnot, and you would store food. But then they'll always know that the amount of food stored wouldn't be enough to get them through the whole winter. So halfway winter, they would kill some livestock. And then they had plenty of food again, and this is why they had the feast. So this is one of the things that when our societies went from hunter-gathering to agricultural, this is one of the things that are with us since that time. Since the time of agriculture. Nowadays we have plenty of food, so nobody cares. But back in the days, they killed some livestock because they didn't have enough food to to feed both people and livestock. But by killing some pieces of livestock, they would have enough food to feed the humans, and because there's less livestock, they would have enough food to feed the livestock. And then they needed a reason to have a celebration, so they just called it...
they used to know how to live in the old days.
Well, yeah, life always has been, how do you call it? A calculation of things? Well, tough, yeah.
Tough.
I mean, it's all pretty black and white. You need to have solutions for problems. And if you have those solutions, well, all the more power to you.
Yeah, but I mean, the feast days and such things used to be the rhythm of the year.
Yeah.
Whereas nowadays we just have, it's a holiday if somebody can make it commercialised and sell you a stupid greeting card for no good reason.
Well, that's another fun story. Do you know the concept of Christmas greeting cards? Do you know where it came from?
Well, they used to hand make them in Victorian Britain. I know that much.
Yeah. Well, it was common to send family members, let's say family members, at the end of the year, send them how things were going and keep them up to date. And then there was this, and it started in Britain actually. There was this dude who was lazy, so he just sent a nice image, and that's how it got started.
Well, no, I mean the thing is people, especially educated people and especially educated women, used to be very well trained in art and things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they had bugger all to do, so they used to do things like make nice cards for each other.
All right. I didn't hear that part of the story though.
But yes, and then somebody says, "Oh, and there's a guy," and he's like, "Oh, let's make them for people to buy." But people were hand making them for a while before that.
Oh yeah. But yeah, there's this, how do you call it? This tradition of telling your family how things are going at the end of the year.
Uh-huh.
It's interesting though. And hi there, Anne Tuck. I haven't said hi to the people in the stream yet. Hi there, Nick's Radio. Who's on the show this time? Me and John. And we're talking about, oh, Christmas really. And hi there, Anxious and Michael and Ludicrous. Did I say hi to everyone already? Paolo, hi there, Paolo. I think I did. If I forgot you, my sincere apologies. Just type something in the chat so I know that you're there. No, actually, today we're going to talk about Christmas, Yuletide, whatever you want to call it.
Well, that in itself is a cause of contention, isn't it?
What, Yuletide?
Well, you know, what's his name? Dark Matter 255 just did a video about it.
I haven't seen anything
You know,
from him.
the
for a long
war on Christmas.
time. Really?
And people getting up about 2 days ago, and people getting upset about the expression "Happy Holidays" instead of "Merry Christmas."
Oh. Well, I say either. I mean, either way, I don't care.
Well, I mean, it's like this, right? Okay, so for 25 years, I've had Jewish in-laws, or not in-laws, sister-in-law, yeah, in-laws, right? So for them, it's Hanukkah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this is what happens today. It's like, yeah, there's lots of holidays, and they're all around the same time. So you say Happy Holidays.
Yeah.
You do not assume their religion. Oh, speaking of it, sorry, I just want to distract for a moment. So, I'm watching. Don't ask why. The show jumping today, and the sound wasn't on, but they had each rider, there'd be a caption with the rider, their country, and so forth, bit of bio. Then they had a caption for the horse. And for the horse, they had gender, not sex.
You horses now
Gender.
have genders too.
Okay, no, but here's the best bit. So the genders were stallion, mare, and gelding.
What's... Hey? I mean, I can understand stallion, which basically
Yeah.
means male.
Yeah.
I
And mare,
can
which is
understand
female.
mare, which is female.
But they call it a gender to have had your nuts chopped off.
So, it's a gender if you are castrated?
Yeah, apparently. And that's what I'm looking at it, going, horse, gender, gelding. And I'm going, what? First, why gender? Okay, first,
I know why gender.
animals in general shouldn't have a gender. They have a sex.
Well,
But
that's-
secondly, even if you accept that gender is different from sex, not for a fucking horse, it's not.
No. That's weird. Don't make sense.
No, I'm looking at it. I'm going,
Humans don't even have a
I know
gender.
the BBC are batshit crazy, but to go a caption for each horse, gender, and then go stallion, mare, gelding.
Yeah. Doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. It's actually batshit crazy, which is why I interjected with it, because he was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe what I'm seeing." I mean,
Well, as Paulo Costa said, unique representation now. Makes sense.
Yes.
No, it,
Castrate yourself for the environment,
yeah.
but only if you're male, apparently. Which is odd, because if you actually wanted to affect the birth rate, you'd sterilize the females.
Kind of takes away part of the motivation for rape, I guess.
No, no,
Well,
no, no.
maybe not. Rape has
No,
nothing to
I'm
do
not
with
talking
it.
about that. I'm just saying the the, the reason we have gynocentrism is because the population is governed by the number of females, not the number of males.
Yeah,
And so eliminating a lot of men from the gene pool makes no difference to the number of children.
true.
Is if you really wanted to do it for purposes of population control, you would do it to the women, is what I'm saying.
Well, yeah,
So it's not,
you're
I'm
correct.
just saying it's not consistent. What they say they want and why they say they're doing it don't add up. They're not.
I'm worried about society, though. I mean,
Of course, they're batshit crazy, or too
yeah.
many of them are.
Mm.
But let's not talk craziness. Let's talk craziness, as in, you know, craziness, being silly.
Well, it is somewhat
So,
worrying, though.
so as I am in Scotland, and my parents, sorry, my mother and my sister have this strange habit of watching TV.
Mm-hmm.
And so I am exposed to things I normally escape, one of which is the local news.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a whole segment on the news last night, it being Friday, the Friday before Christmas. And they even have a name for it up here.
Okay.
Because apparently going out and getting absolutely pissed out of your mind is a thing they do on the Friday before Christmas. Yeah.
Okay.
And they had a segment on the news about it. You know, everyone be careful. Go drink responsibly.
Don't drink responsibly.
No, 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 sorry, I was stumbling. So I'm saying, no, drink responsibly.
I like the don't drink responsibly one as well, to be honest. Mm. Well, I do still say Merry Christmas, even though I'm not a Christian. I don't care. But
Yeah, I don't care. And
the concept of the religious holiday, whether you call it Yule or Christmas or whatnot, the idea behind it isn't a negative one. So I don't understand why people want to kind of.
well, okay,
Well, you have to say this or that because otherwise you might exclude
okay.
someone. Well, fuck that.
I
Exclusion is
will
part of
name you a
life.
country where Christmas is huge. And I defy you to try and convince me it is in any way a Christian country.
What, you mean America?
Japan.
Well, Japan too. Fair enough.
No, Japan.
Then.
I mean, America is a Christian country. Japan.
No, it's
Christian.
not. People keep saying America's a Christian country, but
Oh,
the
stop.
founding fathers were rather clear on that.
Oi. It's a country with a lot of Christians in it. The point is, Japan is not a country with a lot of Christians in it, but Christmas is a big thing there.
Yeah, why not? I don't think they had Yule either, to be honest.
Well, I doubt it. That's being a European
Yeah,
festival.
that's what I meant. So I don't think they had anything like Christmas.
No, but everyone likes getting gifts.
Well, yeah. Well, the holiday is a holiday. Who cares? It's the same with Halloween. Though most people celebrating Halloween may have somewhat forgotten All Hallow Eve was about the demons coming back to Earth to hunt us.
I thought that was the whole point.
Yeah, I thought so too, but how many people celebrating Halloween do you think still remember that?
how many people celebrating Christmas remember it's supposed to be about the birth of Christ? Holidays don't work like that. And
Well,
Easter is certainly not about a bunny hiding chocolate eggs in around the garden.
no, it's Easter was the start of life, I think.
The despicable killing and resurrection of their Lord and Savior.
No, no, that wasn't it. No, no,
Yes, it was.
no, 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 no. That's what Christians want to make you think. No, no. Easter also was based on a pagan holiday.
Yes, but the fact is that first the timing of Easter was determined by Passover, a long-standing Jewish holiday anyway. So you can't blame that on European tradition.
Oh, that's possible. I wouldn't know that.
No, it was. The whole point about Easter week is he went. It was the Passover week in Jerusalem, and he rode in on a donkey on Palm Sunday because that was a particular day where this tradition took place.
I have to admit, I'm chuckling because of Michael Keller. A moment ago, we were talking about Halloween and demons and whatnot, and Michael Keller just said, "Well, that's because daily life is now full of SJWs and feminists. We don't need demons anymore." It's a good one.
We don't need supernatural demons.
Well, I mean, demons. It's implied, I assume. And one could indeed claim that SJWs are demons.
Yes, that's what I've said.
It's kind of funny though,
not
because
supernatural demons, because we have real demons.
the whole do as I say, not do as I do kind of narrative. I
The
remember
ones whose mission in life seems to be to make everyone else's life a misery, all in the name of making everybody good.
yeah. He's somewhat upsetting, I guess. But it's kind of funny because I think it's an old song from Phil Collins. Do as I say, don't do as I do. Obviously, the saying doesn't come from him, but he used it in a song. I think it was about a televangelist.
Uh-huh.
But it's always been amazing to me that there are actually people out there whose mantra is "Do as I say, don't do as I do."
Uh-huh.
It's weird. I never realized that there are people who actually think that that's a good thing. I thought it was around the time of a fertility celebration, hence the eggs, which we were told symbolized the cave Jesus was laid in. Well, it was indeed not so much a fertility thing, but the restarting of the world. I can't use the right words. I should have probably prepared my knowledge of the Germanic traditions a little bit better. But Easter was the starting of new life.
Yes, that's what the resurrection is.
No, the resurrection is the restarting of life. It's not a new life.
Okay. The starting of new life, the restarting of life. Okay.
No, starting of life, not the restarting of life. It's not clear that there's a difference in that.
Well, it depends how you express it.
Okay. Well, that whole egg thing and whatnot. Hell, in the Netherlands, up till a few years ago, I think it's not allowed anymore. But I'm not sure on that one. But in locations in Friesland and Gelderland, people would go hunting for the first kievietsei. I'm not quite sure what the English name for kieviet is, but it's a bird. And the old tradition was that the person finding the first kievietsei in a year would actually get an audience at the king, where he can then present that egg to the king and blah blah blah. But it's an ancient tradition because it shows that the new life is starting. More or less. I never understood why it's a good thing to go look for eggs, though. I mean, I would think that if you go starting looking for eggs, you disturb nature. But that's probably me being silly. Resurrection is on a different date than Easter, John. I wouldn't be.
No, no,
I wouldn't be.
no. Eastern, he said.
Yes.
Eastern, not Easter.
Okay, I don't understand the difference.
Okay, I'm explaining it. The difference in date between the Eastern and Western churches has a lot to do with the changing calendar.
Okay.
Because you've got to understand that the world was running on the Julian calendar, which was instantiated in around 50 BC by Julius Caesar, Julian calendar. And that calendar continued until vastly different dates. In England, the change to Gregorian calendar happened in the 18th century.
Okay.
In Russia, it happened after the Communist Revolution because the October Revolution of Bolshevik victory happened in November, according to Western calendars. Because there was at the time the British changed, there was an 11-day difference between the two calendars.
Okay. There's a 600.
And so that.
Oh, sorry, go on.
And so there was presumably an even bigger difference, perhaps 12, 13 days by the time of the Russian Revolution.
Maybe. There's a 600-year difference with the Middle East in the calendar.
No, that's not what we're talking about.
Oh, okay.
The Julian calendar didn't have sufficient corrections for the leaps, leap days, leap years. And so it drifted. And the Gregorian calendar was a recalculation that was more accurate.
Okay.
We are currently using the Gregorian calendar, which has nothing to do with the year. It is merely to do with the days within the year.
Okay.
So the 1st of January literally skipped 11 days at some point in the UK when they changed from Julian to Gregorian calendar.
Okay.
So if all the dates shift, it's not a surprise that some countries are on a different assessment of when Easter is, given that it is calculated according to calendar. You see what I'm saying?
Somewhat, yeah, but still.
Easter, the date of Easter is calculated according to a formula. But that formula is itself based upon the calendar. But if the calendar has changed in the 2 millennia since the event it was supposed to commemorate, you can see why different people have come to a slightly different calculation on the matter.
Well, that makes sense.
And this is what I'm saying. So, with the fact that the Greek Orthodox Church and the Catholic Church and the consequent Protestant religions of the West now have a different date for Easter is a function of time. And Ludicrous is saying Passover is the first full moon after the spring equinox.
Well, I did know that it had something to do with the first full moon. A
So
lot
its
of
date
holidays.
is movable. This is my whole point.
Yeah. There are plenty of holidays, even within the Western. Well, I maybe not Western society, but definitely in the Netherlands, that are based on the moon.
But you will notice that Easter moves in accordance with Passover because the timing of Easter is explicitly tied to the timing of Passover. Because it was the Passover festivities that
So it's not.
framed the crucifixion.
So it's not moving with lunar cycles, but it's
Yes,
based
yes, it is. It's moving with the lunar cycles in accordance with how Passover moves.
because
But my
that one
point
also
is,
moves
which
with the lunar cycle.
fixes it firmly in Middle Eastern tradition, not European.
Okay, but
Which was
even
my point. That
but
unlike Christmas, which you can say is firmly fixed in European tradition, Easter is firmly fixed in Middle Eastern tradition.
well, I'm going to take your word for it, even though I'm not quite sure I agree.
Well,
But
I
that's
don't care whether you agree. I'm talking historical fact.
all right. Well, maybe you're correct. It could be, but we're not talking
Look,
about
I
Easter
may be
today.
an atheist, but I do know about these things, and I like history.
Well, I do like history myself a little bit. Fair is fair. No, that's the wrong one. For fuck's
And
sake.
I also attended Bible-y things when I was at school, and it was made quite clear what was going on in terms of it was Passover.
Oh, well, I'll have to look into Passover later then. So there were werewolves. Wasn't that a different story? Werewolves actually mean men wolf, by the way.
It does.
Or rather, male wolves. But kind of funny how that
Well,
goes.
male in the modern sense.
Yeah. I'm trying to catch up with the stream a little bit now. Sorry.
That's all
Celebration.
right.
The celebration of Osteria.
Not Osteria. That's what Michael said the German word for Easter is.
Okay. Who
Or
drew?
that thing you were referring to.
Oh, Anxious Aussie. The picture drone that we are using as background now has been drawn by a friend of mine. She does do commission work, if that's what you're wondering. I sometimes use different images from her in my weekly channel. No, not my weekly channel. My normal channel. I sometimes have images from her as well. I'm not sure if she still has ISIM ideas, to be honest. Let me see if I can find that. Because she does have... yeah, that's not a good thing. Oh, that's because I make a typo.
Yeah, but it's the same with a lot of places like the Amazon.
That's this.
You know, you take a wet tropical rainforest, cut down the trees, it becomes arid, and then you have uncontrollable fires all the time.
Yeah, but that's one of the reasons why we do see so much fire. This is what was happening in California. This is what's happening in Australia, where they basically told people to not clean up the underbrush, but to let nature deal with it. And
Yeah.
I mean, this is what I don't understand, because even before the Middle Ages, people knew to clean the brush around their houses. And for a long way around their houses. That's why you will never find a village in the middle of the forest. They will always have part of the forest cleared away.
Yeah.
I sent a link in the chat, Anxious Aussie. That link will lead you to the person's YouTube channel who made the image. Hey, there you can see some other stuff she does. If you're interested. If you're not interested, well, it's there anyway. But, yeah. I have to check the chat a bit.
Yeah, we're talking silly World War II nonsense at the minute.
Are we?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, Michael suggested busting some dams, so I said we had some bombs they could use.
Do you still have dam busters?
No, I was joking, so I said, I'm sure as long as you still got the plans.
Then again, I guess all our current bombs will be of dam buster potential, let's be honest. I mean, back in the days, a 1,000-pounder was a big bomb. Now it's just a missile. Well, I assume the thank you, it's pretty good, is meant as a compliment to the drawing, Anxious? Not sure now. If it is, let me know, because then I'll let her know that people appreciate her work. Well, Rolls-Royce are the engine makers, not the car maker, is still British and a dominant force in the aircraft engines. That is... Oh, are we talking about aircraft now?
Yes, we were talking about the dam busters.
Yeah, but I thought that was a bomb, not an air... Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, but you need an airplane.
Well, not really.
And I said we could even build some mosquitoes. And he said I'd be better off in Lancaster. And I said, but we've got better engines now. And he said, B&W. And I said, well, we've still got Rolls-Royce.
You can do it with a balloon, let's be honest.
No, actually, it had to be done at a very specific speed, at a specific height.
It depends.
No, that was the whole point of the raid. They had to get the mechanics of it all perfectly right because they skipped the bomb into the wall.
All right. But in a balloon, you could literally hang above the dam and just drop it straight down. There will be hardly any movement in where the bomb will land.
No. The whole point of the dam buster was it was actually skidded along the water into the wall.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So you don't just drop it.
Yeah, with a balloon, you can just drop it because you can position yourself
No.
right
The
above
point
it.
is that a bomb doesn't work if you just drop it.
That's not true. Bombs work pretty well when you just drop them.
No, bombs in general, not these particular sorts. This particular sort was designed specifically to blow up dams by skipping along the water, impact into the wall, and then blow up.
No, they first had to sink. Because
seriously, go watch the film.
They were supposed to sink and then blow up at the bottom because that way you got both water pressure and explosive pressure.
No.
Well, I have to look into that one then. And
the whole point of a dam is, if you can crack it, it will break under its own pressure.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, back to dropping a bomb on a dam is useless. The whole pressure will be led into the water. Yeah, no, that's if you drop it on the... But if you drop it next to it, you explode it next to the wall. Yeah. That's what I said.
But no, the whole point was they had to propel it into the wall.
Well, all right then. But you should drop some bombs into the fire.
I mean, okay. you could just send a guided cruise missile. But that's not the fun, is it? Because we're just being silly, remember?
Right. Oh, by the way, Anxious, I will let Ism know that you like her drawing. And yes, it is somewhat a good representation of me, though I don't have a nose like that and my ear also differently shaped.
Hey,
But
I've
yeah,
lost my hair
well,
and it's got me wearing a tie.
yes. We cleaned up John. Isn't that nice of us? And as you can see in the image, John is drinking, which is
Yeah, that's accurate.
that's
What
pretty
I'm
accurate.
drinking, less so.
Okay. I'm sorry, guys. My wife just told me she's going to bed. Kusje.
Okay.
Dobranoc. Anyway, well, I mean, in all fairness, John lost his hair due to that picture. No, not really. But the person that drew the picture only saw John a few times on my screen, and John isn't that voluptuous when it comes to the hair department.
Look, I'm follically challenged. I admit it.
So, when the drawing was made, it was made like this. And both John and I agreed that it was, other than a few small things, a pretty good image. It looks nice.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I mean, John even has cufflinks in this one.
I might have cufflinks in real life.
You might. I
I
probably.
do own cufflinks. I've never used them, but I do own
I
some.
just wanted to say the very same thing. And everyone says good night to you, my dear.
Thank you. Have a good one, everyone.
Yeah, for me, because I'm an ignorant son.
Well, there you have it. But yeah, no, I mean, this is not the sort of drawing she normally makes. So this was sort of a challenge. If you see her videos, you can see what she normally does make. But she is willing to try to work with me on a slew of projects I have. She made a drawing, several drawings actually that I've used in the past as backgrounds. Let me see if I can show you some more. That would be fun. This is not right. Come here. No. I'm doing all sorts of things wrong now.
That's okay.
Yeah,
You
no.
can be a naughty boy. We don't mind.
Yeah, but
Now
seriously,
Sam's gone to bed. You're allowed to be.
that is true. That is true. But I'm not that wrong, to be honest. But let me see if I can find other images that she made, because I'm curious what people think. I always have to look for them though, because I'm crap. I mean, I've got my stuff all over the place. Now, this one I'm pretty sure you guys saw as well. Unfortunately, the image is not set to the size. I am sorry. Let me see if I can have any other ones. But this one I actually use in my videos quite a few times.
Mm-hmm.
And do I have anything else? I'm pretty sure I have something. Oh yeah, there is this one. I really like this one. But obviously it's way too big. Okay, I've got to do that differently. Sorry guys, I'm trying to show you something and it needs to be resized. So I have to do it differently. Silly old bugger me. Are you the right one? Okay, back to normal. I'm going to see if I can see if I can fit it there. Properties, browse, that one, open. Okay. This is another image she made. I really like this one. Modwin and technology. Yeah, we're not the best of friends. That's true. So what do you think of this one, John? I'm not sure if you can see it because I'm not sharing it.
Well,
should I share it?
I've no idea because you're not sharing it with me.
No, but it should be visible on the stream by now as well.
Yes, it is visible on the stream.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah, those buildings are mouldy.
Those buildings are what?
Algae, perhaps. Infested with algae.
I'm sorry, mate. That made no sense to me. Well, yeah, they're green. That's paint. You do have that, you know. They used paint for as far back as we can remember.
Did they?
Yeah, even the Romans had paint.
Posh. There's posh, because the Anglo-Saxons used straw and shit.
Well, the pool ones, yeah, but... I will show my daughter that channel. Watercolor is something a girl hasn't done much of. Well, if she's interested in it, I'm pretty sure I can convince Ism Ideas to come and give a workshop or anything like that. Which won't make any sense because it'll be online. But yeah, no, she does make good work. I mean, I really am impressed by what she does. That doesn't mean that everything she makes I like, because that's bullshit. But she makes nice stuff. I would love living in such a windmill. In the Netherlands, there are actually people living in windmills. And they are still being used as initially intended. Though... Not because they
to annoy the neighbours?
No, there are no people living close by. Actually, this is, I think this is based off of a photo of Kinderdijk. Kinderdijk is part of Dutch heritage culture. That's a lot of windmills standing close together. Most of them are there to siphon water away from the land towards the rivers and the sea. But one or two mills are still capable of milling grains. Mm-hmm. But that's the thing, though. I mean, everyone talks about the Industrial Revolution, which is understandable. But before the Industrial Revolution, the Dutch had a wind power revolution.
I know. Well, and the Belgians.
Well, they were Dutch at the time.
No, I mean Brussels sprouts, wind revolution.
Oh, bloody hell.
It's Christmas. We have to Christmas-themed bad jokes.
All right, then. But no, I mean, the Dutch used wind power for just about everything. They dried the land because they pumped out the water with wind power. Obviously, the milling of grains and whatnot. But also sawing of boards and planks and trees and whatnot. Mm-hmm. Well, tree trunks, not trees, obviously. So, yeah, that's quite an interesting part of our heritage. It's amazing how many people in the Netherlands don't even understand how wind power was very important here.
Of course not, because education's been destroyed.
Yeah, that's pretty much true, unfortunately. It's amazing because one of the reasons why the Dutch were so strong when it came to the naval world was because we had a huge output of boats. Not just because they were well built, but also because we could build a lot in relatively short time. Because of wind power. This is one of the ways that the Dutch were putting a leg over on the English.
You do understand what a leg over is?
Yes, we were better.
No, it means having sex.
Well, yeah, that means it can mean that too. Well, you could say that the Dutch fucked the English. That's true.
That's gay. Sorry, I shouldn't be so homophobic.
Sorry?
And the Navy aren't. I shouldn't be so homophobic, and the Navy are notorious for it.
Well, I mean, that's one of the most interesting stories because England and the Dutch, well, I'm pretty sure we mentioned this a few times in the stream already. not in this one, but in previous streams, the English and Dutch had several naval wars. And the most common fighter in that was always the Dutch sailor. Because at that point in time, nationality didn't mean much. And there were plenty of Dutch sailor in the service of the English Navy. Not as soldier, mind you, as sailor. Which is quite interesting. Or at least I think it's interesting. And sometimes the English won and sometimes the Dutch won.
Mm-hmm. And then we picked on the French, and then we always won. No, seriously. I don't think we ever lost a naval battle against the French.
Well, that's the thing, though. I mean, the Dutch were, for a period of time, in trouble with the French. But on the sea, we won. But in the land, we got totally trashed. Mm-hmm. And we had a 100-year war with the Spanish, where in the lands we were completely trashed. But on the sea, we trashed the English. The Spanish. The Spanish Armada actually got sunk by a bunch of Dutch small boats. It's quite amazing. The Armada was filled with cannons, but they were built to fight big boats. They couldn't angle their guns to shoot the small boats when they were too close. They were just brilliant.
No, but that's weird because naval battle in those days was fought at close quarter.
Yeah, well, the Dutch were using so small a boat that, well, it gave a new definition to close quarter.
Yeah.
No, sorry.
No, but here's the thing. Okay, so when the British fought the French, and this sounds mental, right? The British won because we shot at them below the waterline, and they shot at our rigging.
Yeah, and that's the same with the Spanish Armada. It was meant to shoot at the rigging and maybe at deck height, but not below it.
And we said, no, put holes below the waterline.
Because then the bloody boat sinks.
Yeah.
Which is what the Dutch did as well. But funny enough, when the Dutch and the English fought, they both did it.
Everybody drowned.
Well, the Dutch basically gave the English a trouncing defeat because they were fighting close to the Dutch coast. Mm-hmm. And the English, at that point in time, were working together with the French.
Uh-huh.
And they didn't know the local water, so to speak.
Yeah,
so the Dutch were in line, because back in the days, naval battles were often fought in line. And you wanted to break the line, and once you got breaking the line, then you could shoot in either direction. And the Dutch were basically close to the coast. You couldn't get much further to the coast because you would get stuck in the ground. And then they created a hole in the line, and the English-French fleet went for the hole in the line. But that line was on the edge of where you could actually sail. So if you would go a little bit further, you would run aground. Which they did. Which then basically turned it to, what is it, shooting at fish in a barrel? And that's how the Dutch won a huge naval battle against the English and French forces. Just a little bit of history there. And the first time the naval marines were set in, the Dutch stole the mirror of the admiral's ship of the English in the Thames. I'm sorry. National pride, mate. National pride.
Look, if you've got to go that far back, mate, fine.
Well, we don't have to go that far back, but this is between the English and the Dutch. The thing is, the English and the Dutch have had several wars, and the Dutch didn't always win, nor did the English always win. But, the one thing I never understood about the English and Dutch wars is none of them made any sense to me. The English didn't fight with the Dutch over land, for example.
Uh-huh.
I mean, the English went to the West Indies. The Dutch went to
Yeah,
the East Indies.
And until Wellington and the Peninsular War, we didn't have an army.
Well, yeah, neither did the Dutch, to be honest.
Which is why we lost the Americas, because it was all full of German mercenaries.
Yeah. Yeah. I was wondering if you know what snow is. I assume that's for Anxious Aussie?
Yeah.
Okay.
She did a row of symbols, the last one of which was a snowman. So I'm thinking, A, she's Australian, and B, they've got fires because it's their summer and a heat wave.
Well,
I'll
summer
take the
now.
piss. I'll take the piss, and I'll say, I wondered if you knew what the last one was.
Well, it's summer now, but I mean they have winter.
They are an equatorial country.
Yeah, they don't have much of a winter. Fair enough. I wonder how much greener Australia will be because of the fires, to be honest. Lots of CO2 in the local atmosphere now.
Well, yeah.
No, seriously though. I mean, they are now producing about as much CO2 in the last 2 months as the Netherlands does in a whole year.
But you see, yours is deliberate production of CO2 for a purpose and therefore evil.
Yeah, but I don't really think that the environment will notice the difference. I might be wrong, but...
Why are you bringing racist, oppressive, patriarchal facts and logic to this when everyone knows feelings are all that matter?
Yes. I'd rather be... what was it? I forgot. That was a claim. Oh, I forgot it. I'll have to look, see if I can find it. Not factionally... see if I can find it. That was this... no, not this one. Let me see. Oh, where is it? Or is it? Oh, right. I have to look for it. I'd rather be something correct than factually correct. What was it again? Oh.
A moron? I'd rather be a moronically correct than factually correct.
Yeah, you came close to that, yes. I think people attributed that quote to AOC. And she said something like, I'd rather be... I want to say emotionally correct, but it wasn't that.
Doesn't matter. It was stupid, retarded. We get the point.
Oh yeah, morally correct. I'd rather be morally correct than factually correct. That was
What
it.
does that even mean?
Nothing. Well, no, that's not true, because you can be morally correct by saying men are women too. Basically, morally correct means wrong.
No, it doesn't. It actually means deluded.
And wrong.
Yeah, but deluded is more important than just wrong. It's like this. You could be wrong, okay, but because the whole human race is wrong. Because we don't know any better, right?
All right.
Because we think we know the truth, but we don't, okay? So you can be wrong without being deluded about it. But when people know the truth and you insist on being wrong, that's a delusion.
All right. Morally, factually correct, morally correct. Oh, who was it? I'm crap with names at the moment because he had a great quote about it. American philosopher. Economic and philosopher, I have to say. Come on. I should know this shit.
Thomas Sowell?
Yes, Sowell, that was the one. Because he made a very astute observation. And I'll see if I can find it. Obviously I can't. Well, I should stop looking for it. But basically he said something. If you want someone who wants to be morally correct over being factually correct, you will find someone who is neither. Something like
exactly.
that. Paraphrasing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Which it's really. I love Thomas Sowell. I'm not understanding why I forgot his name. He is fucking brilliant. And the funny thing is, I call him a philosopher. Most people call him a philosopher. But he's not. He's an economist. He doesn't want to be called a philosopher.
Well, the two have about as much connection to reality. So it's easy, in some senses, to see the conflation.
I don't know. I mean, an economist, depending on which line of economy you believe in, I mean...
No, all economics is mumbo jumbo.
Not really.
No, it is.
The Austrian School of Economics is pretty good, actually.
It's less mumbo jumbo than the rest of it, but it is very dangerous.
Well, the Austrian school will indeed not predict, because they will say there's too much we don't know, but based on what we do know, we can predict this and that and blah, blah, blah. But everything we don't know can change it like a heartbeat. They are quite honest about this. The drop bits will be fine. I wasn't quite... I have to admit, Anxious, I liked your drop bear video better than the one made by Suit. I haven't watched Suit for a long time. He used to be great, but I don't know. But, I mean, I did like Suit's drop bear video too. I just liked yours better. Did anyone else see the drop bear video from Anxious Aussie, by the way? It was pretty brilliant.
I'm afraid I didn't. No.
Oh, it was good. It was
My
good.
apologies, Anxious. Very rude of me. But I have been watching a lot.
I don't know if all Aussie women are shaved, by the way.
It didn't say women, it says Vone.
Oh, come on. And he did lose his YouTube channel, true. He lost several, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say, which time?
I have been distracted recently. By whom?
No, by his beloved's ongoing problems.
Right, all right, that is true. And I'm not really sure what else to say, to be honest. We've been talking, right? Jon, you're such a grammar Nazi.
Yeah, I keep telling you this. I mean, for crying out loud, it says, I'm a grammar Nazi, is what I openly admit all the time, and now you're saying you're such a grammar Nazi. I know.
Well, I'm not quite sure if we have much more to say. Do we want to continue, Jon?
I don't mind.
Okay, well, in that case, you keep him busy. I'm going to the toilet. I'll be right back.
Damn it, that wasn't the...
Yeah, well,
Yeah. So, drop bears. Well, they were certainly dropped as the eucalyptus trees burned. And on this bombshell, Well, they keep finding them in Britain, you know, unexploded bombs. They dig up as they're doing some more construction. Those Germans, for all their manufacturing prowess, knew how to make dud bombs. An enormous number of them didn't blow up at the time. Some of them quite large. What do the knobs do for Christmas there? I have no idea, Anxious. Forced labour sabotage. It could be ludicrous. It could be. I cannot comment on why German munitions were so unreliable. But, yes. You would think of all the things to have your forced labour do, building the bombs isn't one of them.
The forced labour sabotage.
Okay, so quick recap. Michael Keller says, and on this bombshell.
Yes.
I said there are lots of unexploded bombs they still keep finding in Britain. Funny how, for all their German manufacturing excellence, they made so many Duff bombs.
In all fairness, Duff bombs were on both sides.
I didn't say that. I was merely commenting, given the German reputation for manufacturing excellence. It's a surprise there were so many Duff bombs. We've never had a reputation for engineering excellence. In fact, for most of the post-war period, British manufacturing had a reputation for shoddiness, unreliability, and general being crap.
Was that already at the Second World War? Didn't that more came with the 70s?
No, not before the 70s.
Well, okay.
No, I cannot talk about the Germans, but the Japanese invented this strange concept of high tolerance engineering or low tolerance, you know, getting parts that fit.
Okay. Made in Germany was a warning. Yeah. You don't really hear about that. I can remember a few old bombs being found and reported on the news years ago, but still finding them. Well, anxious in Europe, Germany, the Netherlands, more in Germany than in the Netherlands. Belgium a little bit. They still regularly find bombs and explode bombs from the Second World War.
Yeah, yeah.
Obviously, it's getting less and less and less because you'd think 50 years after the Second World... What, 50 years? Sorry.
Yeah.
70 years after the World War, you'd be rid of the bloody bastards, but we still find some.
Considering that the bombing took place in concentrated areas, and those are the areas that they tended to have dug up again,
and again.
You would think so.
And again. And again.
But there's always going to be some corner that never gets redug up until...
Weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's true. And, I mean, there are some places where we know there is, for example, a British plane, and for the longest time, people just left them where they know they were. I mean, I think it was last year, maybe the year before that. It was big news that they dug up. I'm not sure. I think it was a Lancaster with the pilot still on board. And well, I mean, it was kind of a public. How do you call it? They did it for the public so that the the body could be brought to Great Britain to be buried there. I'm not quite sure who they're helping with it, to be honest, but yeah.
Still, it keeps life from getting too dull.
Well,
And I must admit, I had forgotten that point Michael Keller's just made. That bombers, if they weren't able to drop the bombs at the target, would basically just drop them somewhere random, preferably
yeah.
where it wouldn't kill civilians.
Well, in all fairness, that's what people say, but they really didn't care much about that. Because if we look at where sometimes bombs were found, I mean, villages, close to farms.
I said preferably. I didn't say always.
In all fairness, civilian death never was a problem during the Second World War on either side, honestly. Which is
Well, no, you don't. You don't fire bombs major cities if you care about civilian deaths. Not
yeah,
because the point was to have civilian deaths.
yeah, because that way you'd hope to knock a country into submission.
Well, no. Okay, so here's the thing, right? So in Britain, the Blitz spirit was a renowned morale thing, right?
Yeah.
You would think we'd learn the lesson of that and then not do the same to the Germans and go, oh, they're not cowed into submission. It just makes them more determined. Fancy that. If only that had happened with us. Oh, wait, it did.
Well, it happens with most countries.
No, exactly. That's my point.
So
That's my point.
It
Do
never...
you think?
Sorry, go on.
No, I'm just saying. You think that they had this strategy of bombing Germany to destroy morale when they knew from our own experiences it had the opposite effect.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of funny. I think the nuke was the first bombing that did have a negative effect on morale. Though, go on.
Hiroshima and Nagasaki hardly cheered people up.
Yeah. But I think both Hiroshima and Nagasaki had a devastating effect on the morale on both sides of the fighting line.
Yeah, well, it was actually designed to do what it did.
Yeah, it took out the city.
No, I tell a lie. Hiroshima did what it was designed to do. Nagasaki was a test.
Well...
No, it was. They had two types of bombs and they had to drop them both.
Yeah. But whereas bombing would secure a populace to stand up against the enemy, the nuclear bomb did quite the opposite. But as I said, it did the opposite not only in Japan, but also in America. And we're still talking about how nuclear bombs are, how do you call it, immoral. As if morality has anything to do with war.
Well, not having war is better.
Well, yeah, that is preferable. I never really understood how people got to war, but then again, people get easily led astray, let's be honest.
Well, you know.
But then again, Christmas, people, Christmas.
Yes.
You know, this is kind of funny.
An event celebrated by the murder of a whole generation of children, according to the gospel.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it was one of the stories. It's like an angel came to Mary and Joseph in a dream. You've got to flee to Egypt because Herod heard about the king who'd arrived. And in a fit of jealousy, he sent his troops out to kill all the newborn boys.
Okay. It's kind of funny in stories. It's always the boys that have to die.
Well, given that it was a king, there wasn't a lot of purpose in killing the girls.
Well,
He's just being a boy. I mean, I cannot blame this on gynocentrism. It
don't
actually makes sense that they
don't
killed the boys.
be transphobic. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. All right then, never mind. No, but it's yeah. Because okay, in this storyline it makes sense, but it's often the firstborn boys, not the firstborn, the firstborn.
So what a
boys.
life! What a life! It starts with the murder of all the newborn boys, and it ends with just the murder of the one who escaped the first time.
Yeah. Yeah.
What a lovely, peaceful religion. Sorry, religious people.
But that's the thing, though. None of the religions from the Middle East are peaceful. And in all fairness, out of the group, Christianity is the most peaceful one.
Yeah, I mean, the message is nice. It's the events surrounding it that are a bit more trouble.
Yeah. Just stop paying money to the EU. That's a good point, Michael. I'm all in favor of that.
The trouble is with international banking, that can be easier said than done.
It's even worse, though. I mean, I've lost it, but I was planning on making a video on international banking, and it basically boiled down to this:
You didn't lose it. You didn't lose it. Somebody has stolen it from you.
No. I had a lot of stuff open, and then suddenly I lost. I don't always save everything, but I leave it open. And when I turn off my computer and turn the computer back on, it still has it. But this time it didn't, which is quite annoying. But no,
I said, you think it's just annoying. I think somebody's hacked you.
I don't think so, but it could be. Anyway, if I look for it, I'll probably find it again. That's not the point. But it's kind of funny because the International Monetary Fund and the European Bank, they actually profit of disaster. If there isn't a financial disaster somewhere, these people will not make money. So of course they're happy when there's another country in trouble, because that's how they make money. Now, how can you trust a group of people going to help you fix your problems when they actually make money of you having said problems?
Yeah, well, I have lived through several crises where the crisis was caused by the banks lending money, and then the banks seal the crisis by then demanding the money people could no longer afford.
Yeah, this is true for example, Greece. People are talking about how the situation in Greece is so terrible because they have more debt than they can afford. But how the hell did they get more debt than they can afford? And then, because this is the bullshit around the 2008 financial crash in Europe, not in America, the European one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was because Greek society couldn't pay back. Well, Greek government couldn't pay back the loan they had with the German banks. So the European Union pays the German banks, and all of a sudden the whole of Europe owes money.
Yeah.
Why are we saving those banks?
No, just as a German chancellor invites 2 million immigrants, and all of a sudden Europe has to take these 2 million.
Yeah. Same problem. It makes me wonder why people are still in favor of the European Union. I seriously can't understand. It brings nothing good at the moment.
Yeah, what was it somebody said recently? Oh, well, Merkel doesn't controlled the EU, and I'm like, officially,
Well, that is true. She doesn't control it officially. That's the
that's what I'm
worst
saying,
part.
officially. And yet, strangely, what Germany does,
Yep.
I see the Germans getting into trouble for breaking the financial rules.
Nope. And they have.
And they have, yeah, exactly.
And in all fairness, if we look at the Netherlands, the whole what's the English word for it again? 80% of the atmosphere.
Nitrogen.
Nitrogen, thank you. The whole nitrogen problem in the Netherlands. Yeah, yeah, but we're not going to reach the goal set to the European Union. Dutch judicial system has actually said that we are law bound to do so. None of the countries around us are reaching those goals. We are close to them as only country in the whole area. But whenever we take air measurements, we're not close to it. Well, what a surprise. It's almost as if air doesn't recognize international borders. But you can't say that because that makes too much sense.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, after all, the reason we have the Sahara is India crushing into South Asia and creating the Himalayas.
That could be true. In all fairness, geography is not my strong point.
Yeah, basically, the Himalayas changed the airflow,
All right.
and that reduced the precipitation in North Africa. And so the Sahara was growing anyway because of it's happened gradually over time. And they reckon what happened in Egypt was you had these people who were living in the fertile area, and they got concentrated into the Nile because that was the only bit that was fertile later.
All right.
Because they found a lot of the very oldest pyramids in the south in what is now desert.
Okay.
And so basically, the Sahara became more and more arid. And so it caused a migration.
But it's kind of funny because the Sahara now is becoming less and less arid.
Yeah, because guess what?
There's more CO2.
And you get changes. Things don't stay the same.
Yeah, that's true. It's almost as if we don't know what causes these changes. But it's only almost like we don't know what causes these changes because we simply don't know what's causing these changes.
Yeah.
It's so amazing. I mean, I've been looking more and more into the whole environmental thing. And I'm far from a scientist, people, don't get me wrong. But it's amazing how much the scientists are literally contradicting themselves when they are in favor of man-made global warming. Don't get me wrong, it's not because I believe they're wrong. No. They're literally contradicting themselves.
Well, there's more money in scaremongering.
Apparently. And they're more than willing to take it. Well, yeah, indeed anxious. I mean, but I don't understand that a country like Australia wants to reduce its CO2. You have so much arid land, you need more CO2 to make the world greener, especially your piece of the world. But hey, yeah. And it's kind of funny because if you look at the nitrogen problem in Europe, in the Netherlands, they are calculating how much nitrogen we put out. But the calculation is based on estimates. And they are already saying themselves, oh yeah, no. We estimate that they are allowed to put out, let's say, 100 parts. 100 parts of what? I don't care, but just let's say 100 parts. We know that they put out 70 parts. We say they put out 100 parts, but they are allowed to put out 160 parts. So when we calculate how much they are putting out, we're going to base our calculation on what they are maximally allowed to do. Not on what they're actually doing. So, I'm sorry. You're not only estimating it wrong, but you're basing it on the wrong numbers, and you're openly admitting that you're basing it on the wrong numbers. But at the same time, the farmers have to pay. The mafia would be proud. Well, yeah. But this is the problem, though. Our international politicians are pretty much fucked up. They make the weirdest shit up. I mean, I'm not even blaming the what's her name, the Greta Thunberg kid. I mean, she's just a kid. Come on, let's not give her more credence than that she earns. Ask the people on Corsica. Ask the people on Corsica on what? They have no argument without flawed worst case scenarios. Anxious, you're 100% correct. But, I mean, and they know it. They openly admit it. But at the same time, they pretend it's not true. It's so many things that are out in the open that I'm finding. It's really amazeballs. I mean, misbehavior by the United Nations, the bullshit around climate catastrophes, the bullshit around green energy. There's so much proof openly available to debunk them, but at the same time, they keep pushing. I've mentioned this story a few times ago about the Indian Sultan or what's not, talking about whether there's a tiger in the castle. If one person says it, yeah, obviously not, because it's a castle. Why the hell would a tiger be in there? But if a bunch of people say it, then you start believing. Now, if everyone says it, you have no choice but to believe. And this is the whole thing with the climate change thing as well. If enough people say it, well, obviously people start to believe it because they have no choice. They don't know any better. And hi there, William. It is all fresh in my head. Say no to smoke. Well, that must... I'm 100% sure, Anxious, that when they said say no to smoke, the trees immediately stopped smoking, right?
Yeah. Well, no, it's not just that, but smoke. No, smoke. Stop it. Smoke. No. And the smoke just carries on oblivious as if it cannot hear.
Well, I remember having seen a documentary about the original Woodstock. And then it started to rain. So everybody started singing Rain, Rain, Go Away. Which obviously had absolutely no effect. But they did it nonetheless. It's
Yeah, because they were all on drugs.
Well, probably.
No, not probably. They were all on drugs.
At least they were really stupid.
Yes. Trust me, I first saw the film when I was about 16 years of age, and I've had the soundtrack for decades. And it's called The Rain Chant, and it's on the album.
Yeah, I know it is. I had it too. Don't have it anymore. I like 10 Years After's on it, by the way.
They're not one of my highlights.
No? But yeah, no, the chant was part of the... It's amazing. They're actually from the stage, the people organizing it started it more or less. And people like lambs. They just
Yeah, but the funny thing is, because I've got Neil Young album where it rains, and he does get them chanting "No rain."
amazing. As
At
if
Woodstock, it's don't climb on the towers will collapse where
yeah,
it rains.
yeah, that was also part of the. Were a few nice thingies happening at Woodstock though. So anxious. Basically, you're telling us that the smoke didn't listen to the chants of the middle class wankers. You don't
And
call
their
them
calls
wankers.
for communism. Don't forget the calls for communism.
I don't think. I think. How do you call them? Do you say wanker in Australia, or is that an English thing? No, in England you say tossers, right?
No, wanker is an English term.
Okay.
It makes me laugh. I was telling Alicia, it makes me laugh that the Americans have adopted it so openly and so naively that I have heard it in the most unsuitable of settings in terms of like family TV because they don't understand what it means. Because, okay, wanker is the only term for masturbation which literally have no other meaning.
Yeah, I know. And they don't know this in America.
Yeah.
She called them "See you next Tuesday," Modwayne. I don't understand what you mean, Ludicrous.
See you next Tuesday is a way of spelling out cunt.
Oh, right.
You put a letter C.
Yeah, no, I understand. I understand now.
Tuesday.
I understand now. See, that's not my colloquialism thingy. But yeah, I understand.
Well, to be fair, I learned that one from the Australians.
Yeah, but I mean, calling your politicians wankers. Well, what do you call those kids shouting, "Smoke, smoke, go away, come again some other day"? No, that's the rain one. They probably would have said something else. So yes, we do use the word a lot.
Funnily, it's the one word my late wife objected to me using, which is a shame because it's about every fifth word I use when I'm driving, because everyone else on the road is one.
Oh my God, English drivers. You do know you're on the wrong side of the road, right?
Look, you can laugh.
I just did. But yeah, no, I've been in England and Scotland and drove around there a bit as well. And you get used to it fast enough.
Of course. I've even survived driving in America.
Yeah. But can you survive driving in Paris?
Yep.
Yeah, that was pretty horrible, though.
No, I would do say I think the English are the worst because we've got the manners of the Italians, but not the sense of humour.
Well, I didn't have the. I didn't drive. I didn't mind driving around England as much as I did driving around France. No, I have to admit, Paris, because France. Driving around in the country of France isn't that big of a deal, but
because
Paris,
it's so empty.
Well, it depends
It's
on where
lovely.
you are, but yeah.
I used to love driving in northwest France because it's so empty. It's like, what is this? There's a road and it's not got a queue of traffic on it. Whereas in the whole of the southeast of England, you go on a road, there's a queue of traffic on it.
no, not Wayne. The British retain the habit of using the same traffic laws for cars and vessels. Not quite sure I understand you on that one, Paolo.
Ships.
Oh,
Ships. It says we drive on the left because that's the side of shipping.
yeah, but if I'm looking at the shipping, the shipping in both the sea and the rivers, it's the same as
I-
the cars. To be honest, you pass each other. If you're going opposite sides, you pass each other on the left-hand side, even with shipping. Where in England, you pass each other on the right-hand side.
And we do on our canals too.
Yes, but in Europe, in the canals, we pass each other, yeah, port to port. I think it's port to port. Starboard is
Well-
right?
We-
That's too long ago for me. I should know this shit because I'm actually educated. I have my.
Are you educated? I wouldn't have guessed. Damn, didn't need to say that out loud.
No, but seriously, I have my green book, which is basically the book you need to have. It's like a passport for. I want to say sailing, but it's not sailing because we're not working with sails. But working as a sailor.
Mm-hmm.
I hate that word though. We don't have sails. It's well over date though. I haven't used it for more than 20 years. But
Americans call lorry drivers teamsters. They don't have teams of horses either.
is that where it came from? I thought
Yes.
that's something to do with the unions.
No, teamster was the person with the wagon with controlling the team of horses.
And yes, Michael, a monster boekje. That's the name, indeed.
The fact is that obsolete. What's the word? Not obsolete, but you know what I mean. Redundant, old, decrepit terms remain.
And yes, Ludicrous Leprechaun, I didn't have my little red book.
Thank goodness.
Uh, though, back in the day, maritime transport, yeah, that's what you call it. I'm actually, I was allowed to be a skipper on riverboats. I doubt I could be doing it now, to be honest. But I did have the papers for it. So
Oh, I'm sure that the regulations required now would require about a decade in higher education.
no,
it's
not
what
like
they
that.
did-
But you do need. I mean, I haven't sailed for a very long time. I'm not up to date with the codes. So yeah, you need to have that.
No, because in lorry driving, they've introduced all kinds of new regulations you have to pass. And not just pass, but you have to take them quite frequently, every 5
Yeah,
years.
yeah, that's true. That's true. I'm not sure if that's still true for the. But you have to the monster boekje. You have to reapply for the monster boekje. But if you are actually sailing, working as a sailor, you can get it easily, because then it's assumed that you know what you're doing. I'm not sure if they would still do it like that, but that's how it was. So the first monster boekje, you actually had to prove you know what you were doing. But after the first one, if you were sailing, and I think it was good for 10 years, and every 10 years you need to get a new one. But if in the last 10 years you worked at least 7 of them, and the last 2 years before literally changing the books, you would get it.
Mm-hmm.
If, for example, someone like me, then you can get it after you prove that you still know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Well,
which
Europe is heading away from that common sense model towards let's fund an unnecessary education
well, I
industry.
don't know. I don't know if they already have, to be honest, because in all fairness, as I said, my book. Damn it! I said 20 years, but it's longer, really. I got
Because,
it when I was 17, 18.
yeah, so
Whew,
a few
that's
weeks ago.
a few weeks ago, when the dinosaurs were still roaming the earth.
No, that's when I was 17 or 18. But no, because I worked in training construction and you had uh, qualifications were required for using any of the plant equipment. And it was the same thing. It used to be if you'd done it for enough over 5 years, you just got renewed. And that wasn't good enough. They had to fund the education industry. So they were transforming it from if you've been doing the job and therefore are a good and have a good record, you're fine. To no, you've got to pass a new test every time.
Yeah. Well, at this point in time, for the driver's license, they're not that difficult yet.
No, for cars,
Yeah.
but for lorries, it's not true. You have to pass your CDC.
I remember that when I was working as administrator in the, how do you call it, petrochemical industry, I
Mm-hmm.
used to have a degree just to be allowed to go on a petrochemical plant.
Uh-huh.
And I had nothing to do with the work. I was just an administrator.
Mm-hmm.
But they taught you important stuff as don't use fire.
You
Don't.
mean the common sense stuff?
Yes, basically. Which was very important, apparently.
As opposed to lots of big signs on entry and around the site saying no naked flames for any reason.
Yep. Which they also had, by the way.
Of course, they also had, but you know.
The training industry is out of control there. Okay. But it's the truth. It's true in the Netherlands too. It's true everywhere in the Western world. There was a time when we would say, okay, if you're good, you're good. Now, I've worked with people who are higher educated than me, and I wouldn't even allow them to put the trash out.
Mm. Well, they're not higher educated. They've just been in education longer. Not the same thing.
Well, they have higher educational, how do you call them, credentials than I do.
Uh-huh.
So there is that.
Well, I reckon because since I went to university, I think they've now installed secret rooms where they take brains out.
Well, it could be true. My wife is now actually thinking about whether she should homeschool our son, because next year he's supposed to go to school and she doesn't want him to.
I think it's a good idea, but it's not my life to choose, if you know.
Yeah, where I understand homeschooling in places like the UK and America, I'm not sure if the Dutch system is as fucked up, to be honest. I'm not sure what you're saying, mate.
I'm saying it's coming.
Maybe, but it's not here yet.
Yes, but he's going to be 5. So in 5 years, he'll only be 10.
Well, I'm not sure if it will go the same way. I hope not. But yeah.
No, I mean, there seems to be a United Nations plan and concerted effort.
There is that. But I don't understand. People really do their best to dumb down people. And it's even worse, though. I mean, the people that are being dumped down hate it when you recognize this.
Yeah. Well, because if you're deliberately subverting society, the last thing you want is people pointing it out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much true.
Yeah, but I don't want to sexually harass anyone, Ozzy. Why should I go on a course to learn how to do it?
That is true, though. Why would you want a sexual harassment course? It's not as if it's that hard to sexually harass someone, is it?
No, well, no, I just don't want to learn. I mean, you know,
It's the same. I make the same joke when people talk about babysitting. I can sit on a baby. I'd rather sit on a chair, but yeah, sure, I can sit on a baby. So if you need someone to sit on your baby, by all means. It's silly, I know. But yeah, no. So yeah, there is that.
I mean, I also did a computer science degree, which meant that there were hardly any women.
Which is weird because computer programming, for example, used to be a women's part of the job.
Mm, not really.
It's, it was though. I mean, if you look
No,
at
no, no, no. Women used to be computers. That is, people who manually did mathematical calculations for
yes,
hours on end and very boring.
true. But if you look at
But the programmers have always been a male-dominated profession.
that's not true though, because most of the code for the early space program was written by women.
Not that I ever heard. As I say, computer coding was always a male occupation. And the women in general had absolutely no interest in it when I went to university in the 1980s.
Yeah, that's in the 80s. I'm talking before that.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Well,
I mean, apart from Ada Lovelace, who kind of created the concept of computer programming, then
sorry, I had to laugh
before,
because ludicrous.
but before computers existed by 100 years, right? There aren't any famous women in computing.
That's
Certainly not in the creation of the computers, not in the creation of the languages, not in creation of the operating systems. It's all men. Well, it's Christmas, Michael. Of course, we're talking about all the things men love: Christmas, bombs, aircraft engines, drop bears, computers, and women.
drop bears. What's her name though? I can't remember. I could be wrong. Margaret Hamilton. She was one of the main people behind the whole NASA thing that helped the computers in the early space program.
Okay.
Oh, then again, I mean, it doesn't mean that that it's a woman's thing because one woman did it. I have to admit, you're correct on that one.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. It's like having learned the history of computing,
Yeah.
women were notable in their absence. Which is not to say, I mean, it's like the code breakers of Bletchley. A lot of the code breakers were women.
Mm-hmm.
But the people who did the machines and the computers were men.
Okay.
And given that Bletchley Park was pretty much the birth of modern computing,
Better memory for mistakes than an elephant women have. Yeah, that's true.
no, it meant computer.
No, I think women have a better memory for mistakes than computers do.
I don't like to generalize about people.
You don't like to generalize fat people?
Based on sex, I said.
Oh, fact. I understood fat.
Sex. I don't like to generalize people based on sex. No fact, no fat, no.
Well, no, but it's amazing though because it's weird. But the more feminism gains traction, the less women are in STEM.
Yeah, because the more opportunity women have to choose what they do, the more they opt for different kinds of occupation.
Weird like that.
It's almost as if they're not that interested, except for a relative, a proportion.
A
You
small
are.
proportion.
Well, proportion of men to women in those fields is
It's very small.
heavily skewed in favour of men. And just as in other occupations that are more human-centred, the proportions of the opposite skewed in favour of women.
True.
It's just that, as far as feminists are concerned, how dare those women do what they want and let down the wage gap?
Yeah, it's the whole wage gap thing is something I never understood. Or rather, I understand it. I don't understand how people still believe in it.
Because they're uneducated morons.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're going to take the earnings of all women and put that in a pot, and you're going to take the earnings of all men and put that in a pot, then there will be a difference. Oh, no shit, there are more men working than women.
No, but but it's about the average. But that's not the point.
Yeah, but I mean,
Point
if you're going to take the average of all men working,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to take the average of all women working, and then you're going to break that down to hours because they also did that.
It depends on the country. The British calculate it very different from the Americans, for example.
But I mean, what they should look at is, for example, men working. They're 30 years old. They're working this many hours. What do they
No,
earn?
they shouldn't look at it at all. The only thing that matters is, are people doing the same job, getting the same money for the same work?
Well, and we know that this is no. Actually, in a lot of countries, we know that this is indeed not the case. Women out earn men.
No, but are they earning the same money for the same job?
And as I
The
said,
answer is yes.
No.
No.
the answer is no.
No. We know that women are out earning men by the same flawed calculation as the supposed wage gap of averages over uncompared comparable people.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but this is factually not true. We have I've seen calculations of women in the same line of work with the same hours, with the same educational background, out earning male counterparts.
Uh-huh.
Because to offset the gender wage gap bullshit, they're actually paying young women more.
Yeah, well, that's just pure female supremacy.
It is, but it's still happening. So if we're going to look
It's
at...
not still happening, it is now happening.
Well, it's been happening for a while now.
Okay.
And it's kind of funny because countries like the Netherlands, they don't have that problem, luckily enough. But then they only don't have that problem in countries like the Netherlands because we have centralized working agreements, which is rather communistic.
Very communistic.
It is. It is. But stuff like that seems to come natural with how do you call it?
Populations who vote to remain in the European Union.
Well, yeah. That's not what I wanted to say, but
No, but it sums up the point.
in a way it does, yeah. Which is weird and annoying in my humble opinion. And I can't help but recognize that our society is basically being fucked because of shit like that.
Yeah, well, because these issues are inherently complex. And as I said, the very concept of taking a demographic and then measuring averages across that demographic and then taking another demographic and calculating averages across that demographic and then comparing the two averages and expecting any meaning to emerge is insane.
Yeah, that is true.
Absolutely insane. The fact is, it's simple. If there were many cases of men being paid more, and I accept your point, there might be women being paid more than men, no one gives a shit. But if there were cases where men were paid more for the same work as women, we would hear of nothing else.
Well, that's another thing. I mean, it's been illegal for as far as time goes back, so to speak. But
Yeah,
there hasn't
I'm just
been
saying, even if it wasn't illegal,
no. The fact that
its very existence, we would hear of nothing else. That's my point.
Yeah,
and as we don't hear about it, it doesn't exist.
No, what I wanted to say is even we know that it's illegal, and they keep claiming that it's there. So how come that there never been a lawsuit about the fact that it's what they say it is? Because if they can prove it to be true, they actually can make a lot of money.
Yes, I know, but that's my point. But even without the lawsuit, just the mere existence of it, we would hear nothing else.
Yeah.
And that's my point. The fact that we don't hear about it proves it doesn't exist, because there's nothing like those fanatics for ferreting out even fake examples, and they can't even fake examples. It proves it doesn't exist, which proves it's a nonsense.
No, you're correct. Yeah, that's true. Oh, careful.
Well, actually, there was a famous article a couple of years ago, and there was a woman in the UK. She might have been a journalist, but it's definitely a mainstream newspaper article she wrote.
Mm-hmm.
She was jealous as a single woman of the maternity leave given to her female colleagues.
Oh, so I forgot that one.
She pondered having a year off by pretending to be pregnant.
Yeah, what was it called? She wrote a book about it, Maternity. Bloody hell.
This is the kind of shit that the feminists are just happy with, despite the fact that it's blatant sex discrimination, because only a woman could do that. Yeah. Even in the world of trans.
Yeah. Yeah, that was quite annoying. I think I actually made a video about that.
Yeah, but that's my point. It's like, it is part of the entitlement culture.
Yeah.
She felt entitled as a woman to have this time off at the employer's expense, and she was more than prepared to be fraudulent about it in order for it to happen.
And indeed, what Angshan is saying, you really only hear women who earn a lot complain about the wage gap anyway. And it's kind of funny because I made a video, I think it was from Vox, responding to one of the Vox videos, where a guy and a girl are sitting opposite of each other talking about...
I know the one, yeah.
And oh no, the wage gap, no, that really true, how much do you earn? And she out-earned him, and then she still talked about how it's unfair. They were still both talking about how it's unfair that men earn more than women, even though she out-earned him by several. I think it was 22,000.
It was significant. That's the point. It was a significant amount. But here's the thing: the feminist mentality is, if as a woman something goes against you, that's oppression. If something goes for you, it's because you're brilliant.
And there's never a good way to put things in.
No, I'm saying it's not. It's as a woman, if something goes well for you, you achieved it on your own. It's because you, the woman, is brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
But if it goes against you, it's because you were oppressed, not because you were bad or below par.
Yeah.
And this is a problem. Mm-hmm. So if every success is due to the brilliance of the woman and every failure is due to the evilness of men, this is what you get. Even when the woman does better, it's because she's better. But if the man did better, it's because of evil patriarchy.
Yeah. I can't believe people still fall for that bullshit. Anyway.
Because it's complicated and they weave these, the way they say it, it's like they'll go, no, we're not saying people for the same work earn different amounts. Next breath. For the exact same work, they're earning less money. Because they know the second one is the only thing people will take home.
Yeah.
That is, they lie.
But that's what feminism has always done.
Yeah.
It can't go back in time to prove anything that isn't based on a lie when it comes to feminism.
Well, I don't know about going back in time, but the general point, there isn't a single true thing ever said by feminism, is yes. It's all based on lies.
It's all based on lies. Anywho, we've been busy for 2 hours, so I kind of want to call it quits.
Quits? Yeah, quits you are.
I'm a quitter, I know.
No, you said it, so it is quits.
Oh, all right. But I'd like to thank everyone for coming.
Me too.
We did talk a lot about Christmas, but as usual, we somehow always end up on feminism. Well, not always, just often. I'd like to thank everyone for coming. And I hope to see you all next time. John, you want to say something before I call it quits?
No, but thank you all for your forbearance and participation with a lively chat.
And I hope to see you all next time. And this is where I press the end button